Hello, food enthusiasts and gossip girlies, and welcome to the very first episode of Los Leftovers. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Huberto.
And we are going to be your culture connoisseurs. But before we start, Huberto, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. There's a couple of things I got on my mind in regards to the Academy.
Our good old friend, the Academy.
No, yeah. We have a feast of topics that we're going to get into today. But before we start, what are you eating today, Huberto?
Well, I have some awesome tacos. They're actually queso tacos from Juanderful Tacos, lengua to be exact. And then I also have a lengua burrito, also queso burrito. So I'm really excited to dig into it because I'm starving.
I'm so hungry. I had a frittata for breakfast today, and that's been it. I've been waiting to eat all day. I got a bunch of tacos. I don't know if you guys can see from that angle. Girl, I got a bunch. Very big back energy. But I don't care. It's okay.
Listen.
That's why we go to gym.
Listen, it's bulking season.
It's bulking. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's how I say it.
Yeah,
it's bulking season.
Well, yes. Well, yes. No, yeah. But like I was saying, Grammy's got me a little upsetty spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see the way that things have been playing out recently. Lots of stuff. Like award season is always interesting. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but there's a lot. I can't believe Lana was snubbed again.
Yeah, and we'll definitely like cover it for sure because
absolutely
we got to start like from the very beginning of it.
Well, let's get started. First on the menu today for our appetizer, we're going to be covering, again, award season, most specifically and currently kind of like Oscar nominations, how those are making us feel, and where we think they might be going, maybe our personal predictions. And for our entree today, we're going to be covering some Arizona Republican tea. Because we know those girls love to be messy. So yeah, stick around, grab some food, sit down with us, like come to the cool people table. And yeah,
I'm ready.
let's get into it. So, like we said, for our appetizer, for our very first episode, we're going to be covering Oscar nominations. What those are currently, well, not currently because they already came out, and how we're feeling. Because low-key, I'm feeling a little sour, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think the Oscar noms were definitely interesting, to say the least. Yeah, quite a few snubs.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, which is like, I don't know. I feel like it's every year there's always going to be a snub that, I think the people would have chosen instead. But this year in particular was kind of an interesting choice to snub certain people. Do you watch it like the Academy Awards?
From time to time. Yeah. It's like, girl, I'm not going to pay for cable. I'm sorry. You're not getting my money. No, yeah. Historical snubs for me, Margot Robbie was not nominated, which is kind of insane, considering Barbie was like the highest grossing film that they was nominated for an Academy Award this year. I believe the like total number at the box office, I think was like over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I don't know like what point something, but I know it's for sure over $1 billion.
And that's like Greta Gerwig's like highest grossing film. Huh? That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure also highest grossing film of last year. So very interesting. On Barbie too, though, we do have to give some people their flowers.
Yeah.
America Ferrera was nominated for the first time this year, which is love to see Central Americans win.
Honduras, stand up. That's my girl.
Love her. No, yeah. I thought it was really cute. I read this article. Essentially, like she found out like in the morning she had just dropped off her kids at like school, and then she's like finds out, she's like, oh my, she can't believe it. Ariana DeVoe is the first girl that like talks to her, and I had not heard her name in a while, Miss Ariana. So hearing her name in this article I thought was so funny, but it was really cute. Really excited to see like hopefully she wins.
Yeah.
In that category.
This is our first, right? Like ever.
this year, surprisingly, there was still a lot of firsts. Who else was nominated? Who else?
What's his name? Something Domingo?
Coleman Domingo.
Coleman Domingo. Yeah.
Yeah, he was nominated this year for Best Actor, which is very slay.
Which is like, it's kind of about time because his discography, crazy.
When we were doing
discography, sorry, I'm still thinking Grammys last night too. So
what would that be called?
Oh, catalog. I call it a catalog.
No, yeah. When we were doing research for this episode, we saw like the amount of movies that he had been in, and I was so surprised.
It was good.
I know.
Bro.
I was like, oh, well, yes.
Yeah, honestly,
well, yes.
honestly, it's just as impressive as like Daniel Day-Lewis or like a Joaquin Phoenix. Like, like every single movie, you're like, oh, this was like top tier, like acting, directing, writing, or something. So
no, yeah. What made this like a nomination in particular like pretty special is he's like the, he's gay. Do you know what I mean? But it's really cool to say like that he played a gay character. He played Beard Rustin in the movie Rustin, and he was nominated for a gay role. You don't often see that. I feel like sometimes historically there have been like queer roles that have been played by straight actors that have been nominated for like Oscars. So it's really cool to see like one of our own, headlining that.
yeah. But, speaking of that, Bradley Cooper is like nominated too, right? Didn't he play a queer character?
He did, and that I think is Maestro.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What if Bradley Cooper wins over? That would be crazy.
That's big T.
That's crazy.
Big T. It's so funny because also people from what I've heard on the internet speculate he's queer too. Allegedly.
I'm gonna spell it out. Allegedly.
No, yeah. He's also Central American. His family
Bradley Cooper?
No. Coleman Domingo.
Right.
Coleman Domingo's family is from Belize and from Guatemala, but he grew up in New York. So
Guatemalans stand up. Let's go.
Guatemala. Who else did pretty well? Lily Gladstone was nominated.
Hell yeah.
For Best Actress. Another first for this category in particular, because it's the first time an Indigenous woman has been nominated for that role, which is very slay. But again, with these conversations with like the Grammys and with like the Oscars, it's super like fascinating. This Grammys is Oscar is going to be the 95th annual Academy Awards. And
96.
Just kidding. 96. 96. It's very fascinating to see that we're still kind of having these firsts. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, do you think there'll be any by the time it's 100?
I don't know. That's in 4 years.
Yeah. And then we're still having first now? It might be, honestly.
I don't know. I think it's really interesting too when you're talking about like just like the history of the Academy Awards and whatnot, and like what kind of like who has been historically nominated and who like has won and whatnot.
Right.
Like I know I did some research on this topic, but in the history of the Academy Awards, only 36 Latinos have been nominated. So it's kind of like it's kind of crazy. Again, almost 100 years.
Yeah.
Almost 100 years.
Damn, and 100? Oh, I'm mad.
I don't know.
I'm sick.
I wouldn't be able to tell you that information. But I also think it's interesting too when you talk about like who has won. Only like, what is it? I believe it's only 3 women of color have ever won the Best Actress award. And who won that twice? Viola Davis.
Good for her.
Yeah, it was her, Halle Berry, and just recently Michelle Yeoh last year for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So not even enough like on my hand.
No, exactly.
Academy, y'all need to step it up. Step it up.
Very fascinating too. And also like when we're talking about like who has won historically and who has been snubbed, within like Academy Award season. Did you know the last time a Black woman won for the Grammys like Best Album was in 1999 with Lauryn Hill?
The silence was really loud.
Oh, yeah.
That is wow.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think that, you know, in our modern day and era, like we're still like having these firsts. I don't know, but I feel like when we're talking about like all these statistics and all that stuff, like I unfortunately kind of like have this sentiment where I feel like does the way that the academy vote, like, and the way that like both academies, you know, like the recording academy and like the acting academy, like,
Right.
do you feel like that really kind of like shows itself in our society?
Yeah, kind of. Because the academy is essentially like their peers and their colleagues. So I mean, if we're still like kind of living in a, not even kind of, we're still living in like a racist society. It really shows, and it's also like the academies too is like it's very political in a way. Like it's very, it's all who you know and like the connections you have to. So, I mean, even Drake I think called out the academy on Instagram and was like, anyone who's been nominated, you know, whether you win or lose, like the academy does not dictate like who we are and like the music that we put out, which is true. Like it really doesn't matter. Like it's just an award. You know. Yes, it's nice to get the recognition for the work that you do, but essentially like the culture within itself speaks for like what actually was like history, what is actually like the best kind of music. So I don't know, I feel like every year like people take like the academy a little less seriously,
I agree.
and it's kind of, it's, you know, at what point do then we just like stop it altogether? Because then it just creates like competitiveness in a way. Like it just creates like a healthy competition. I believe is, yes, it is important, but I don't know, I think like some people really take that to the head if they don't like win or anything. So
Yeah, like
Like
a
I'm
notable, like a notable Miss.
I don't want
Mirage.
to say. Ooh, she's gonna come out with a Bigfoot dish.
Watch out for the barbs, y'all. Oh no, yeah, it's so fascinating that you're saying that too, because it's like Jay-Z literally just had a similar conversation,
Literally.
like on live camera, accepting his award.
Yeah.
So I do feel like there is kind of like a validity to like what you're saying. It's like, yes, it's kind of a reflection almost of our society.
Yeah.
I would hope that like, I would hope our society has like progressed more than the Academy Award, like both academies. And I do personally believe that. But it's kind of just fascinating to see like these things like still play out. Again, like we were saying, this is going to be the 96 Academy Awards, and like we're still having these things. It's like,
Right.
we saw people get like snubbed at the Grammys, like SZA, and
I think the way that I like think about it is like, I almost think of the Academy as like almost like America, founded like, you know, colonized by white people. Like the Academy was a predominantly white industry that like, even to this day, people of color like still don't have the same opportunities as like white people. And it's the same even with the Academy. It's like when you build your foundation on something that's like predominantly one race, and there's like so much like, what's the word? I can't think of the word. I guess like not segregation. I guess, but just like unfair, like systemic rules in place.
it's like a sort of like
it's-
systemic oppression.
Yeah, like it's hard to like beat those odds, you know. Whereas like if the Academy started like by like a diverse group of people, like people of color, then I think it probably would be like a fair shot. Like I think then people would take it more seriously, because it's like, oh, it was founded by like literally everybody. You had somebody from every type of background, every type of, you know, background, religion, or whatever the case may be. If it started on that, I think people would be like, oh yeah, this is actually something to like take seriously and into consideration. But the fact that like, you know, we're still like not even past 5 for leading women of color for winners, it's like, it's kind of, people don't take it serious because it's like, it's a joke.
No, yeah.
You know?
It's very fascinating to see like how these things are playing out.
Like no tea, no shade, but if I have to hear one more person of color be like, I did this for all the young boys and girls that are like, I'm like, and that's great and all. I like, that's great. We shouldn't be. No.
Not in this day and age.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Like I as like, let's say that I had one. Like I shouldn't be telling like one day you can make it too. It's like, no, the possibility should be higher. Like you are gonna make it.
No,
you know?
yeah. And I
So-
feel like that kind of also plays into it. It's when you're talking about like the media and like how like things are portrayed, I feel like it also sometimes kind of discourages people to kind of like get involved like politically as well. Do
Right.
you know what I mean? Because it's like if in the like almost 100 years that the Academy has been around, only like we were saying 3 women of color have won that award.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what are your chances? What are your
Right.
shots? Because it's like, is your worth like is your work even worth it?
Right. No, and why do you think so many like parents of color, whenever their kids like, I want to be like an actor or a star, they're like, be so serious. At least that's where like my experience is that like, you know, when you bring up that idea, it's like it doesn't make good money. The chances of you actually being successful in it are not that high because of, again, the systemic like rules and oppression that's put into place. They're like, you have a better chance of actually becoming a doctor or becoming a lawyer or anything like that. Why do you think like so many people of color are always like, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or lawyer, but I said no? Because, which is cool. Like, I think we're in a
I
stage.
feel like it's
yeah.
kind of like a little nuanced though, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I feel like yes and. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? I feel like because of the way that like certain, like groups of people have like kind of had to assimilate to the United States and have like tried to work around like our capitalistic society. Unfortunately, it's kind of like you have to pay to play. Do you know what I mean? And like you have to get involved. And like for me, like I can see it from like my mom or my tia or like mi abuela, like coming from a place of like it's not that I want to discourage you, que like
Right.
no lo vas a poder hacer. It's more so kind of like we can just play it safe and do
Right.
things that
The
we know.
reality is
Exactly.
that, you know.
And it's like it's very fascinating because it's like they're almost like aware of like the systemic
Right.
oppressions, you know,
Yeah.
like things that, you know, keep people that look like us, people that act like us, you know, in this space.
Right.
No, yeah, but I feel like that's why, you know, like we, you know, like, and people that look like us have to continue to have these conversations and continue to uplift the, like, you know, voices that sound like ours and the stories that like we can relate to like further, you know, progress like what our people are doing in our society.
Right. Do you think it'll change in like the next 10 years?
I feel like it will.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
very confident in that fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just that. What does his mom say? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, don't bring up that. Oh,
Next up, we're going to be talking a little bit about some Republicans in Arizona and some drama in our very own backyard.
oh, fun.
Stay tuned. On to some other disappointments in our backyard. Jeff DeWitt, the old chair of the Republican Party in Arizona, recently stepped down and has been replaced after some messy mess with one fake lake.
Oh.
We're gonna dive into that. So grab your popcorn, y'all, because there's a lot of information. We're gonna go down this little rabbit hole now.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, recently, Jeff DeWitt, the chair of the Arizona Republican Party, stepped down. Do you know why? Do you remember?
Kind of something to do with, I guess, like telling Lake not to run or something like that.
Yes. So recently, Carrie Lake released a recording from back in March of last year where she essentially was having a conversation with him. And he he basically was like, I don't know if you should run this year. And if you don't, I'll give you a job or something along those lines. So she held on to that recording for a good like 10 months. It's been a while.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while. And just recently, every year they do like early in the year, there's like this like Arizona Republican Party thing that they do like in North Phoenix.
Yeah.
Kind of like a building up the base and yay, everything's great, dandy. Trump was supposed to be there. So people have kind of been suggesting that Carrie Lake probably released it to kind of like do almost like a coup of the Republican Party in Arizona to kind of like out him and maybe seize control. I don't know what she's doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't trust her.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, after the recording was released, he stepped down because her team had threatened to release another recording that apparently was far worse. So that happened.
Oh my
God. So that happened, and in a span of a week, all of this was happening. Then, they're figuring out, okay, what are we gonna do? He steps down. They're like, oh, are we still gonna have this event that we were planning on doing? Trump's supposed to be there. They need to raise money or whatever. Trump doesn't show up because he's in New York, and another court case with E. Jean Carroll. Because of the defamation. He lost a defamation case against her once and continued to spew lies about her and lost again. So he didn't show up. They still went on with this whole Freedom Fest thing, and they voted in this new girl.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Who is it?
Her last name, I can't pronounce it. I can't even try. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and just put it at the bottom of the screen.
No, yeah. So they voted her in. People were not super happy. They were like, "Oh, should we not?" So it's just been very messy. I have no clue what they're doing, and it's not new. I mean, Republicans in Arizona have time and time again proven themselves to be payasos.
Yeah.
They're always doing the most.
Wait, so is Carrie Lake gonna run?
So yes, she had already announced that she is running for Senate. And currently, we're still kind of in the whole loop of this election thing, because it's we're not completely sure if Kristen Sinema is going to run. Right. But Ruben Gallegos has entered the race. So as of right now, they're both kind of competing against each other for attention. Yeah. So what do you think, how are you feeling in regards to this whole, what Republicans have been doing in Arizona currently, and where do you think that's headed, ultimately?
I would it's funny because I feel I focus less on Republican shenanigans, just because yes, I could sit there and just be eyeing them and watching every single little move, but I think that we have to focus so much on I guess on a left-leaning side, we should be focused on us organizing better and making sure that we get our numbers up to the polls. So listen, I ain't got time to worry about the next person. It's one of those you do you, boo. Whatever shenanigans you do will come to light, and I'll probably hear about it. But for the most part, we got to focus on organizing better. Because that's I think the biggest thing that people have said about left and Democrats is they're not good at organizing. But I disagree. I think it's been pretty good so far.
No, and I agree with you too. I feel Arizona comes with its own issues when we're talking about organizing, specifically in public and in outside. Do you know what I mean? Whether that counts as door knocking, stuff like that, because of Arizona's geography. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's hot out here. It's hot for a majority of the year.
Yeah.
And it's usually hot during election season. Do you know what I mean? So it's you're expecting people to go outside, have these conversations, but it's also 100 something degrees outside. So for me, I have always held Arizona organizers and activists to such a high degree and such a high standard.
Oh yeah.
Because they put in the work. Do you know what I mean? I know countless of organizations that have been doing so much work over the last 10 years to really engage and educate our our people. Do you know what I mean? Let them be politically active and all this stuff. So it's I've seen the work that they've been putting in. That doesn't make me feel when I see the circus that is the Arizona Republican Party, it doesn't make me feel there's no way that they're gonna win, because it's well, Trump won in 2016. What, do you know what I mean? It's just it's having that balance of yes, they are a threat, and yes, they are disorganized, but that doesn't mean that they cannot have they cannot.
That they're not strategic or or tactical in some way. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really curious to see how things play out. Right now specifically, we're in legislature season. So there's bills being dropped left and right.
Yep.
And while Katie Hobbs is the governor, and while she does have the power to veto, I feel I would personally like to see Katie Hobbs like sign things.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like sign meaningful legislation, and not, like constantly veto things. And I don't think that really
Right.
comes down to her. I think it just comes down to like the political atmosphere and environment in Arizona. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Unfortunately, as of right now, Republicans still hold the majority in both chambers of the Arizona legislature. And I know that there are a lot of efforts this year to flip the legislature.
Right.
So like fingers crossed. I'm really hoping that we get there.
Yeah. And I think we will, to be honest. I feel like, yeah, like you said about like different organizations, like I know like a bunch of organizations that are like really trying to organize their best to like flip it. And like we have like some pretty good like representatives, I think, so far that really like stand with like community and stuff. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of hopeful for it, and I think it'll happen. So
Absolutely. No, yeah, like I just know recently Lucha, Living United for Change in Arizona, introduced a bill for paid family medical leave alongside, well, they were able to introduce the bill because of Senator Mendez
Right.
at the Arizona State Legislature, and a lot of other representatives as well. So it's like I can see like organizations that are like putting in the work.
Right.
I'm very excited to see like where things go. I'm very hopeful. I feel like a lot of times when we're talking about politics, and similar to our conversation that we were having earlier, when we're talking about, like being, like POC, being queer, especially in like positions, not in positions of power, but like in places that, in institutions that, like hold and retain so much power, it can be difficult to feel like you're doing something correctly, like you're not doing something correctly. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like it feels like there are people like out to get you and all this other stuff. And I feel like it goes back to the conversation that we were saying. It's like that is why like I revere so much these organizations that have put in the work to like really allow people that look like us to like feel their power, to be able to connect to that.
And also to like take up space too. Like they're really taking up space, and like it's really beautiful to see. Because without them and without their work, like who would be fighting for us? Someone has to. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this year's like state legislature, as chaotic as it can be, but it's like a good chaos. It's not like a evil chaos. So yeah, I'm really really hopeful to see how things turn out. Yeah, and hopefully like this paid family medical bill like gets signed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We know it's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And we know that like a lot of people like may still feel confused when it comes like to the legislature, to like how like local politics like works and whatnot. So just like as a little sneak peek, we are planning on doing a little bit of a deep session, a little like deep dive for our following episode, really like going into all the ins and outs of the legislature.
Yeah.
A little like Ledge 101. Shout out to college for teaching me the 101 words. So yeah, super excited to see where that goes. Likewise, very hopeful for this, legislative session. Really hopeful, and let's get into it. Let's put in the work. Get people out to vote. Get people out to like demonstrate their people power to like hopefully sway the opinions of certain representatives,
Right.
Like in our favor.
Right. No, and we're definitely gonna need people to like take call to actions and like call your representative whenever like these bills drop that are like gonna be really crazy coming out. Like there have been some really weird crazy bills so far, but I don't think we have enough time to cover every single bill that's come through. But
unfortunately, not today.
Not today.
But next time, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Like we said, with this being an election cycle, we are expecting a lot of crazy bills to be introduced, try to be passed into law. We know that Republicans will do anything that they can to maintain the power that they still have in Arizona. But we are going to be here to be, again, your culture connoisseurs, but also your policy pundits. We're going to be talking about the ledge, Arizona politics, politics in general throughout the rest of the season. So We're hoping that you guys tag along, stay tuned, leave us a comment if you guys have any questions. Anything else I'm missing, Roberto?
Yeah, if there's anything that you would like for us to talk about when it comes to the state legislator, feel free to leave a comment or send us a message. And we're really excited for this year, and Godspeed to both of us.
Well, that about does it for our entree. But don't go just yet. We still have one more thing to cover. Well, that was it for our very first episode of Los Leftovers.
We hope you all enjoyed it. And tune in next time where we're going to be talking more about the Arizona legislative session.
So whether you're a political junkie, an entertainment buff, or a culture connoisseur just like us, Los Leftovers is your show to go.
Yeah, so make sure to subscribe, follow, and join us for our feast, because when we eat together, we win together.